Mm. There was a contact point on the bowl which deadened the resonance when struck, impeding the delivery of the sought frequency. And here we are, frequency, making a broadcast. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, and anyone interested in surviving as a Pilates instructor. 4 titles today, and nothing to go real deep, really, just commentary. Number 1 is, what's the difference between a master's and a PhD? Now, forgive me if it's a distinction you don't care about or wouldn't know about. And forgive my ignorance in only understanding it in a general way. A master's is a continuation of a subject in greater depth. Okay, that's how I would say it. And a PhD is taking that a step farther to assembling what's currently known or documented and assembling a thesis, and the thesis is the basis of your PhD. Okay? It's what you assemble out of what already was or is. So the MMP point of view is a PhD point of view because it has gone from the classical to someplace new, which makes it the basis of the thesis. And the reason why the thesis is even done is to try to go someplace new. And the someplace new in this case, I describe as neoclassical Pilates, because it's straight classical Pilates, seeing it through the ideal, or in the presumption that an ideal exists within his original work. Okay? So, I'm telling you this, sharing this with you, so that in a way it helps you understand the distinction between what? Between going into something deeper and trying to come up with a worthwhile thesis that takes the study somewhere new. All right, so number 2 in that regard is moi, identified CT and MMP. That's my profession. And really, that's all you need to know about me to get about me. And to what level you appreciate it or don't appreciate it, just like when you broadcast, regardless of the audience, it's what the quality of what you try to put into the presentation, right? The broadcast. And in this case, if this were the last time I were to broadcast, I want you to have in hand comfortably that the deal with me is that I identified core new tension in the human body and which doesn't matter as much in a way, but that's my individual accomplishment, if there is such a thing. And that's just pointing out a biodynamic fact, the way that the biology embraces itself to move through space. That's core tension. Know the definition. And the ideal. So instead of MMP, I identified the ideal in the work, or at least I pointed to the presumption of one being there, and acting on the theory from the 3 facts in Joe's book, definition, promise, and sequence, you can get to a pretty substantial ideal view of the work that has a tremendous sensational connection. Number 3, Pilates hamburgers. Maybe Pilates and hamburgers. Maybe I need an and signed in there. Pilates and hamburgers. You can go anywhere to get Pilates and anywhere to get a hamburger. Number 4, Pilates and accounting. I wasn't like until college and dating someone whose mother was an accountant, even though my dad was he was an accountant in his own right, but it was someone that told me about the universality of double entry bookkeeping. And the double entry bookkeeping is done the world over the same way. Isn't that cool? And unlike Pilates, my thinking wants to continue saying, where so much of it is improv, my point is that in the accounting paradigm of how you keep track, everybody keeps track the same way. And in the Pilates paradigm, in terms of what attracts, how's that? It doesn't transfer. The comparison doesn't transfer what I'm trying to make, or it doesn't make sense to me in trying to present it to you. So, I hope it's been enough. I hope it is enough. You know, if you know about core tension and the ideal within Joe's work, that information, it might send you into the dungeon or be rejected completely, or might make you the standout instructor and no one really knows why. So, to walk among kings and fools. To walk among kings and fools. I think unnoticed in a way, right? Just to be able to do that, and life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Add 2 and 2. Direct your thinking. It's amazing I say that, and I'm so random in how I broadcast. But it's fun. It works for me and has for a while. Director observing. That's perhaps somewhere in there, if I could just highlight how there's a very small part of the population that has a wide range of expression in their capacities, in their being, thinking, and observing. And I said that too general, because what I really mean is that a lot of people just don't listen, right? And then that a lot of people that just don't listen gets genderfied, making a barrier where one really doesn't exist. Because the whole attention thing, the whole observing thing, the whole capacity in the human being to do that, it's like a very special point of view that if you want to reach out to someone thinking, such an interesting article, prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, and aerobic exercise keeps those healthy in order to avoid uncurable disease. That hippocampal area for me is like a hippo looking out its eyes, trying to figure out where it is and remember how it got there. That's cute. That's the first time I've said that. But the hippocampus really is a sense of location in space, and so from what I said, recognizing that a PhD takes a subject matter individually somewhere new by the expression, and if that's the case, then my PhD with Pilates is theorizing an ideal within the original work. That's how it came about. And really, I just wanted to understand the experience. I wanted more of the experience. And then, of course, I wanted to be able to share that experience as an instructor. And, of course, I wanted to be able to teach people about what I thought about what I was doing. To the point where you might become a presenter, hint, hint, where not so deep as teaching or instructing, but just doing an overview presentation of radically new material. Because to me, going from the core to whatever you think it is, to the core actually being a grip at the hips, and the ramifications of oppositional rotation and axes of the body, what's great about it is that you can embrace it physiologically and feel it. See? I don't know, I think that's too big a thing to deal with. And then the ideal within the method is just one point of view. Okay? It's an ideal point of view. And to whatever extent you have an understanding of that ideal, you have something in common with anybody else who's familiar with that point of view. Just like being a teacher from a particular lineage, right? My lineage is the ideal within Joe's original work. And all I'm doing is pointing that out and making the introduction to my student of the sensation, its nature, and how to elicit it. All of that after I've already said direct your thinking. Observing, it always comes back to that. Which leaves me with Geist.